All right, here I am at the Shiawassee Street Railroad crossing in Bancroft, Michigan. So this crossing right here is another rather interesting crossing owned by the CN Flint subdivision. Now, unlike many of the other crossings that are on this line, this one has some differences from like all, the modern Siemens installs that CN puts on this line. And this one does feature some, pretty classic stuff, some remnants from what it, had back in the Grand Trunk Western days. And since I already toured Main Street over there, I decided to tour the other crossing I wanted to tour in the small village of Bancroft. And down there, that third crossing is Grand River Avenue. I might tour that one the next time I come here, since I'm kind of running on limited time. But I guess with all that said and out of the way, I'll explain the equipment as I go on. So I guess with that said, let's get on to it. So for the first signal, this has a Satran base, and here's the emergency information, and the dot tag and the dot number is 283703H. And you can see that there's some tape on the mast. They gave this a coat of paint recently, it looks like. But yeah, and for the gate mechanism, this has a Satran gate mechanism 2000s generation. And this features some Ricoh LED gate lights and a wind guard, as you can see. And for the lights on this one, this has two pairs of Satran 12x20-inch die-light LEDs sitting on a Satran light bracket. Now, I believe these lights used to be incandescent because these light heads look pretty old. I could be wrong, though. But yeah, and for a bell on this one, this has a General Signals Type 2 electronic bell set on high volume. Although it is starting to die down a little bit because I just caught this crossing in action just now, and it sounds like it's been set at like max volume once before, but it's starting to dwindle down a little bit in volume since the bell is getting old. But yeah, now I guess with that said, that was the first signal. Pretty substantial stuff. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second signal, which has some pretty classic elements to it. So for the second signal, which is kind of similar to the first, this one has a WRS clamp-on style base, as you can see with the smaller style WRS box. It's pretty neat. You can see that both signals are also guarded by a couple of rail ties painted yellow, as you can see. But yeah, and here's the emergency information, the dot tag once again. And if you look up here, there's an old Grand Trunk Western dot tag with the same dot number. But yeah. And for the gate mechanism, this one, this has a Satran gate mechanism 1980s generation. And this one features some more Ricoh LED gate lights. No wind guard on this one. Well, yeah. And for the lights on this one, this has two more pairs of Satran 12x20-inch die-light LEDs sitting on a Satran light bracket. Now, these kind of look newer. Maybe these were incandescent in the past. I could be wrong, but, see, they have the die-light LEDs look. And as you can see, the gate is pretty short on this signal. I believe that's the reason why they didn't add a wind guard. I thought probably it was unnecessary or something. But yeah, and for the bell on this one, this has a General Signals Type 1 electronic bell. Pretty neat to see a crossing with, especially on the Flint sub, with a sort of healthy sounding GS Type 1 and Type 2 bell combo. So yeah, although I got it in action just now, and this GS Type 1 is pretty quiet, and it's set at default pitch. Maybe next time when I'm over here, I'll film on this side of the crossing when I get in action again. Now, also, one thing worth mentioning, that this crossing's bell wiring rings all the way through until the gates start going up, so I believe this crossing was always gated. Now, and unlike Main Street down there, which owns on its separate flasher relays, just like most of the other crossings on the Flint sub, this crossing doesn't. I think these two signals run on, one flash relay, which is pretty neat. But yeah, I guess with all that said, this was the Shiawassee Street crossing in Bancroft. He used the relay case sitting at milepost 248.42. Pretty neat stuff. Now, I guess with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the track view. Down there, as shown before, heads to Main Street. It heads east to Durand and the Vernon area. As you can see the control point Bancroft area right there with the red signals where it splits into two tracks eventually. And you can see the Extension Road crossing and also the Grand River Avenue crossing. Like I said, eventually heads towards Durand. You can see all the signals down there for both control points, Bancroft and Vernon. And down there is heading west towards the Payne Road crossing, eventually towards the Perry and Shasburg area. You can see there's another signal down there, which I believe is an automatic signal showing red. Now, right now it's showing red because E251 just went through, and eventually this should go back to its default state, which I think is flashing yellow. So yeah, I guess with all of that said, this was the Shiawassee Street Railroad crossing here in Bancroft, Michigan. Pretty neat stuff. I had to get this crossing in action again soon, and maybe Grand River Avenue, since that's the third crossing of the three in downtown Bancroft, or down village, if that makes sense. But yeah, I guess with all that said, over and out.